Leaked documents just exposed the brutal truth behind Ferrari's internal war, and Fred Vasseur is now pointing the finger directly at Lewis Hamilton. What's inside these documents? And why is the seven-time world champion suddenly being treated like a liability instead of a leader he is? We'll break down what Vasseur saw, how the Brazil disaster triggered all, and why this twist could change Hamilton's entire future with Ferrari. Because if Ferrari believes Lewis Hamilton is the problem, then it's not a team anymore, it's a crisis in red. Subscribe if you believe legends deserve better. In Brazil, everything looked normal until it wasn't. From the very first lap of Friday practice, Lewis Hamilton was sending clear signals back to the Ferrari garage. The balance was off. Rear-end grip was disappearing under high-load acceleration. Braking zones felt inconsistent. On paper, nothing dramatic had failed. But in Hamilton's hands, the car felt wrong. By the time qualifying came around, he was fighting the setup instead of the stopwatch. It was more than a bad weekend. It was a structural failure. And it started something no one expected: a shift in trust. Internally, Ferrari's technical team was split. Some engineers backed Hamilton's feedback, warning that the simulator was producing over-optimistic outputs. Others, closer to Vasseur's core group, claimed the data looked fine, that Hamilton needed to adapt. After the race, those tensions came to a head. Hamilton's early drop-off, his sudden lack of pace, became fuel for a behind-the-scenes review. But instead of focusing on systems and tools, someone at Ferrari compiled a document allegedly containing performance inconsistencies and strategic disruptions linked to Hamilton's style and communication. That document, now leaked, has shocked the paddock. It didn't just list setup preferences or sector times. It pointed fingers. It claimed Hamilton's feedback during qualifying diverted the team from their primary setup path. It claimed his in-race comments caused last-minute uncertainty in the pit strategy group. Worse, it framed his leadership as destabilizing, using the word misaligned in bold when referring to his influence inside the garage. But what the document ignored: context, pressure, and decades of success built on precisely that kind of adaptive thinking. When Fred Vasseur reportedly saw the document, his reaction was cold. According to insiders, he said, "If this is the direction, maybe Hamilton has no place here anymore." Whether said in frustration or conviction, the quote landed hard. And it wasn't just a whisper. Multiple team sources confirmed it reached the board level in Maranello. Suddenly, the mood shifted. This was no longer about development direction, it became political. Ferrari wasn't fixing problems, it was isolating them. And Hamilton, as the highest profile name in the team, was now the easy headline. For Hamilton, this was familiar territory. He's been underestimated before. He's been misread. But never like this. Never by a team that brought him in with the promise of transformation, only to panic at the first sign of discomfort. The irony: Ferrari asked for a change agent, and now they blame the very force that's trying to rebuild them. Hamilton's style isn't chaos. It's pressure applied with intelligence. And if that's being labeled disruptive, it says more about Ferrari's fear than it does about his leadership. The leaked Ferrari file wasn't just a technical analysis. It was a political weapon. Framed as a performance alignment report, it grouped together telemetry data, radio transcripts, strategic deviations, and engineering feedback. But the presentation wasn't neutral. It was designed to draw a conclusion that Hamilton's racing approach, decision-making rhythm, and communication style were incompatible with Ferrari's structure. This wasn't about understanding problems. It was about laying a foundation for blame. And the moment it surfaced, it told us exactly who inside the team was unwilling to grow. One section of the file referenced Hamilton's unexpected grip level adjustments during sprint sessions, suggesting these had caused confusion in setup configuration. But to any seasoned engineer, that's absurd. Grip levels are never static, especially in sprint weekends with limited running. Hamilton has made a career out of adapting to live conditions. To present his instinctive changes as destabilizing shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how elite drivers operate. Or worse, a refusal to acknowledge that the car might be flawed, not the driver. Another section pointed to feedback escalation, a term reportedly used to describe Hamilton's repeated post-session requests for mechanical changes. The report framed this as excessive, as if proactive communication were a flaw. In truth, it reflects one of Hamilton's greatest strengths: his ability to communicate evolving grip, wind sensitivity, temperature thresholds, and tire degradation trends in real time. What Ferrari called noise was actually signal. But signal only works when a team is willing to listen, not defend itself. The most controversial part of the file, according to those who've seen it, was a subsection titled Culture and Influence. Here it claimed Hamilton's presence had created internal frictions within existing engineering workflows and disrupted legacy communication patterns. This wasn't about racing. It was about power. About tradition clashing with transformation. Hamilton wasn't just being criticized for his driving, he was being blamed for trying to lead. And for a team that claims to want progress, that's the clearest sign that its structure is still stuck in the past. This leak also reveals the gap between Ferrari's public image and internal reality. Outwardly, the team presents itself as forward-thinking, ready to embrace modern Formula One's demands. But these documents say otherwise. They show a structure allergic to being challenged, fragile when questioned, and threatened by anyone who dares to push. Hamilton's presence is a test not of performance, but of philosophy. And right now, Ferrari is failing that test in front of the entire world. While media headlines spiral and internal memos leak like oil on tarmac, Lewis Hamilton hasn't flinched. There have been no reactionary tweets, no defensive interviews, no pointed sound bites. To many, that silence might seem passive. But in the world of elite Formula One politics, silence is power. Hamilton knows that reacting too quickly gives weight to the chaos. So instead, he watches. He listens. He gathers. Because unlike Ferrari, he's not here to play short-term games, he's playing for legacy. Inside the team, those close to Hamilton describe a man who remains laser-focused. He shows up at briefings. He contributes in simulations. He speaks to tire engineers and performance analysts with the same precision he always has. But more importantly, he documents every setup failure, every data mismatch, every warning he gave before Brazil that was ignored. While others posture, Hamilton is building a detailed internal record of what's really happening. Not to create drama, but to ensure accountability cannot be erased. What makes Hamilton especially dangerous in this situation is not just his status, but his memory. He remembers being doubted at McLaren. He remembers carrying Mercedes through multiple regulation changes, dragging performance from cars that should not have won races. He knows this game. He knows the cycle: praise, resistance, scapegoating. But now, in 2025, he no longer needs to fight for approval. He's already the most statistically successful driver in history. And that gives him the leverage Ferrari seems to be underestimating. More importantly, Hamilton understands pressure better than anyone in the paddock. While Ferrari's leadership fractures under media scrutiny, he remains composed. And that contrast is becoming visible. Journalists have started to question Vasseur's management. Fans have rallied around Hamilton's dignity. Even within Ferrari, whispers are growing louder from mechanics, engineers, even senior staff, all wondering why their most experienced voice is being sidelined while the real problems go unaddressed. Hamilton isn't creating division. He's exposing it. What Ferrari didn't count on was the fact that Hamilton doesn't need their protection to win this fight. His reputation is global. His audience is massive. And his understanding of the sport both on and off the track runs deeper than anyone they've worked with in a decade. If they thought they could marginalize him into submission, they picked the wrong champion. Because Hamilton doesn't panic. He prepares. And when the moment is right, he doesn't strike with words, he does it with results. Because this isn't about survival anymore. It's about control. And Lewis Hamilton knows something Ferrari hasn't learned yet. The loudest person in the room isn't the one in charge. The one everyone listens to in silence is